And Greg Wrubell, the voice of the Cougars, is joining us from New Jersey on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Greg, what is the weather like in New Jersey today?
It is a beautiful fall day in Princeton, New Jersey. We're probably a week or two past peak leaf color, but it's high 40s, low 50s, gorgeous. The campus is located near a river, and the scenery and the setting could not be more picturesque on this wonderful autumn day.
Greg, have you seen the rowing team or the members of the crew club out today?
I've not, and you'd think you'd find them on that river today, but I peeled my eyes and did not see them. We are the basketball gymnasium is located over. It's on top of a fencing facility, however, so there's fencing nearby.
Well then. I love it.
All of this just plays into why Jerem does his Princeton voice.
Yeah, it's Princeton, yeah.
Yes, well.
Greg, BYU plays 13 non-conference games. This is a good one at Princeton, a B-level game according to our stats friend Ken Pomeroy. What do you feel like is the key to a win for the Cougars tonight against the Tigers?
Well, and don't think that a B level is not a good thing, because Pomeroy's only got an A and a B. So, and right now, BYU has 11 tiered games, and I think at one point it was 8, then it was 10, now it's 11 after some games have been played already. So, yeah, this is BYU's first resume game, if you will, of the season. It's one of the tier games, a tier B game. Pomeroy gives BYU a 45% chance to win this game, so kind of a coin flip game. Great win for BYU if the Cougars can get it. And really, BYU's non-conference schedule, I think it's tougher than maybe some people gave it credit for when it first came out. The game Saturday against UT Arlington is going to be as tough a game as BYU plays in the non-conference, and we saw what we needed to see from UTA in the spring. They've only played one game, won it. They'll be off for a week before they play BYU. Niagara comes in, then it's Alabama and UMass back-to-back. Then they'll come all those in-state games, and 3 of BYU's in-state games are tiered as well. So I'm just saying this is a challenging non-conference for BYU. If the Cougars come out of it with as many wins as Pomeroy predicts BYU to have in non-conference, 11, they'd be an NCAA tournament team if they get all of those wins. If they were to go 11-2 in this non-conference, then you're looking at a really good basketball team. And again, these are just projections, Pomeroy projections, but by the percentages, that's a lot of wins in a very tough non-conference schedule, and we'll see that tonight. Keys to beating Princeton: do what you did last year, get them on the boards, and do what Butler did on Saturday or Sunday. Get them on the boards and make sure you manufacture second chance points. Take care of the basketball. BYU did last year. Butler did this past Saturday. Really, the reason Princeton loses the Butler game is really the rebound disadvantage, which was 13 just by the numbers, but the second chance points were 7-zip in Butler's favor. The points off of turnovers were plus 10 Butler. And so even though, Princeton didn't, throw the ball away a ton on the weekend, 11 times is all, Butler only turned it over 6 times. And BYU, in beating Princeton last year, did a lot of those very same kinds of things, to beat the Tigers last season. They were plus 12 and plus 10 in second chance points. BYU was last year, plus 5 in points off of turnovers. Those same categories that Butler led on the weekend, they won. And they won the game because of those particular margins. Princeton shot 56% from the field, 60% from 3 on Sunday, and did not win because of those things we just talked about.
Now, BYU shot the ball really well in all of its games it's played so far, and one guy that shot it particularly well, it was Elijah Bryant, which is our stat of the day.
It's the BYU Sports Nation stat of the day.
Elijah Bryant is shooting 90.9% on the season. That's because he's played one game, and he went 10 of 11. A note, that's not the best on the team because Peyton Dastrup made his one shot. Do you expect Elijah Bryant to miss 2 or more shots tonight?
Don't sell Peyton short. He was 2 for 2.
Oh, 2 for 2. My bad.
He's shooting 100% right now.
Do you expect Elijah to miss at least 2 shots?
Peyton, here's my stat. Peyton Dastrup in the Mississippi Valley State game took his first free throws as a BYU Cougar. He did not take a free throw last year.
That's weird. Is that a stat that matters?
Well, and it happened 2 years before that, or maybe the year before with Jacob Hartsock. We've had a couple of guys go a year without, and then Jake Toulson, I think, did it 1 year too. So, yeah, BYU's had guys play seasons and not take free throws, and so, but that won't be the case for Peyton this year. So, yeah.
Greg Wrubell, the voice of the Cougars, with us on BYU Sports Nation in Princeton, New Jersey, on what he called a gorgeous fall day, getting ready for the Cougars' first real resume game of the season. Okay, Greg, what type of game do you expect to play out tonight between BYU and Princeton? Slow-paced, in the 60s, 50s, or do you see a high-scoring affair?
It'll be higher scoring than the last time BYU played at Princeton.
39-38.
Yeah, in 1981. So I'll go with that for tonight. It's Princeton's offense, but it's not really the Princeton offense, if you will. It's a little more fast-paced and not as deliberate as you'd expect Princeton to play. It's being forecasted for a game in the mid-70s. BYU played mid-60s against Mississippi Valley State. So I'll take anything over 70 as reasonable today, possession-wise. And again, Princeton, because of the talent they offer a lot more possibilities for isolation and one-on-one play than you might expect from a Princeton team traditionally. In Devin Kennedy, Amir Bell, and Miles Stevens, that's as good a big three as you're going to find in the Ivy League, certainly, but as good a big three as BYU will see this year in the teams it faces.
Wow.
2 juniors and a senior. Stevens was the Defensive Player of the Year in the Ivy League last year, a first-teamer in the Ivy League, and so those three really make this thing go. And again, it's not exactly what you'd say is a Princeton offense because of the great individual talent they have that demands a little more one-on-one attention.
BYU fans are obsessed with the size of gyms, so go ahead and tell us about the gymnasium that Princeton has.
You know, Coach Rose and I just talked about this in our post-shoot-around interview that we heard during our pregame show tonight on BYU Radio. He says, Greg, we've done a lot of games in a lot of different places, and this is kind of a one-of-a-kind venue. He equated it to a venue I was actually considering, too, when thinking about what it reminds me of. If you go to Pocatello and you go to Holt Arena,
yeah,
it's kind of a dome feel. It's a football facility, but they push over the court to one side. And Jadwin Gymnasium is a really unique building. It's kind of like got a cantilevered Sydney Opera House dome feel to it. In fact, the Sydney Opera House design is kind of what this thing looks like.
Wow.
A cantilevered dome. And you get inside.
What does that
this
even
thing,
mean?
Well, it's got levels. It's cantilevered. So one part of the roof goes under the other, and then a bank of windows form, be kind of a bridge between one and the other. You got to look up Jadwin Gymnasium on Google, and it'll show you what it looks. It's a really unique looking facility. So it's a dome, a double layered dome. So you get inside, and you're on the basketball floor, but beneath the basketball floor, it's like an indoor baseball diamond and the fencing facility, and there's all kinds of stuff going on in this place. But
I'm looking at it. It's great.
It's a dome, and they're really and the lights extend almost from floor height all the way across the ceiling and the roof to the other side. So the lights are almost in your view. Every time you shoot the ball, you're going to have lights in your background. It's really a challenging venue that way. And so there's a full track inside this dome, and the basketball floor is on one half of the dome. And so they're going to push bleachers over to one side and create a four-sided bleacher field. But when you walk in on a day before the game, like yesterday, there's only one set of bleachers up, which is a permanent grandstand. Everything else is really open. And it's a really interesting venue to get a shooter's feel in this one. So I'll be curious to see how the Cougars shoot the ball, because it is a unique venue from a sightline standpoint, from a lighting standpoint, from a background standpoint, shooter's eye standpoint. Very unique, a lot of history. This is the 50th season of Jadwin Gymnasium. It was built in 1969, so it's been around a while, but I think it's one of the coolest places I've been. It really is unique and different, and you're playing at Princeton. It's Ivy League, it's Bill Bradley, it's Pete Carrill, it's all these things, and BYU finally gets to play out here after many, many years away. I'm stoked for tonight.
Greg, that was amazing. There's a reason you're really good at your job as the voice of the Cougars and explaining things and painting a picture in people's heads. If you can explain a cantilevered gym so
I didn't
well,
even know what cantilever was,
that's going to be the most difficult thing you described today.
Well, I don't know how well I did it, but I'd say you have to be there, but it's my job to kind of tell you what it's like to be there. But if you do want to go online and find a couple of photos of the place to see what I'm talking about, I tweeted out a photo or two yesterday from what it looks like inside, and you'll be able to see how the lights really do end up in every pretty much everything you see in every shot you take.
Let's talk about a little bit of football here. So BYU beats UNLV. They're prepping for UMass coming up. UMass is interesting, 3-7, but they've been really competitive. Reminds me of kind of BYU last year, except BYU won more games. But UMass has a good pass offense. They got some playmakers. Last year wasn't a game I'm interested to see how this plays out Saturday. What do you think?
Two of the best tight ends in the country playing. Matt Bushman, although he's only a young guy, has great numbers at the tight end spot. And Adam Brenneman, preseason All-American, may end up a postseason All-American. He ranks 26th overall in the FBS and second among tight ends in catches. He's 47th overall, second among tight ends in receiving yards per game right now. He's tremendous. So Brenneman is a name to watch just from an individual standpoint. As you mentioned, good throwing offense, better run, or better pass than run. And I think BYU will need to score in the 30s in this one. UMass's losses are close. As you mentioned, they've been competitive. They've only lost one game by more than 10 points, and that was the game at Mississippi State where they lost by 11, a game they led in the second half. Everything else is really tight. They've won a few games recently and kind of picked up a little bit of a rhythm. They've won 3 of 4, scored points in those wins. I think BYU have to play well and score some points to get this one done because I think UMass is feeling like they can go in and score some against BYU.
Greg, you are significantly closer to your homeland than you are in Studio B, being in New Jersey. And so we want you to channel your inner Canadian and tell us today's a cool thing about Canada from the land of Princeton, New Jersey.
All right. This one is, it's not going to blow your mind. I'll tell you right off the top. But it's interesting and kind of speaks to the great relationship that Canada and the U.S. have. But Canada is the world's largest country that borders only one country.
Interesting.
Canada and the U.S. share the longest unprotected border in all of civilization. So Canada is the world's largest country that borders only one country. Canada and the U.S. joined at the 49th parallel, brothers forever.
Brothers at the 49th parallel.
That was a fun fact. I did learn more about Jadwin Gymnasium today, though. I did enjoy that. Cantilever. I learned a new word.
Yeah, well, I hope people enjoy the descriptions that come our way from the JAD tonight. It'll be Terry Nashif joining me courtside. Mark Durant's sitting this one out, and so I've got former BYU guard and assistant coach Terry Nashif as my color commentary colleague tonight. So Terry and I will be on the air at 5 o'clock Mountain Time on BYU Radio, 7 o'clock Eastern. And, of course, the pregame show starts at 4 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Eastern. Jason Shepard there at the BYU Radio studios, and Terry will join him as well in that first half hour. So listen for us this afternoon and evening from Jadwin Gymnasium in Princeton, New Jersey for the Cougars and the Tigers and early season college basketball catfight.
All right. Greg, great stuff, man. We look forward to it. We'll be listening tonight.
And Spencer, thank you for your excellent work on last night's BYU football with Kalani Sitake broadcast. Jerem, as always, great job producing it as he has all season. But Spencer, wonderful job keeping the seat warm and taking my spot. And I hope I get it back next week as well as you did. But thanks again. It was great.
Well, I think people can only handle white pants for 1 week. So, yeah.
Everybody's talking about your white pants.
Yes, they are.
You got your white pants.
I got my white pants on.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that Kalani is down enough to know about the Tight Pants song. And so that's another thing that was positive from last night.
Great stuff. Thanks, Greg. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great call.